I went back to Modern Warfare 2 recently and played a lot. Well, kind of. After trashing the game the whole year, because honestly I didn't like it, I went back solely for DMZ. I don't even have the other stuff installed because contrary to my thoughts on MP and Warzone during MW2's year of support, DMZ was actually pretty well done and had so much potential for success. Then it was just dropped. Today I want to take some time to run down with you what I've found DMZ to be like in 2024, playing a decent bit, and just have a discussion about the mode overall. So drop your thoughts as we go along. Do me a huge favor and drop a like to support the video, and make sure to subscribe for more retrospective content like this, as well as other FPS content with the COD 2024 reveals upcoming, X-Defiance launch, and more. I'd love to have in the community. But for now, let's jump into it. So frankly, we've been talking a lot about extraction shooters here in the last month or 2 months that have piqued my interest: Gray Zone Warfare, Arena Breakout Infinite, a couple of other ones that I was excited to jump into and check out. But all of those discussed had been focused around like the hardcore or tactical shooter nature, which made me think of that time that we had a game that wasn't so much of that, an extraction shooter with a much more approachable gameplay set that was the more broad appeal, DMZ. So I kept thinking about the basis of how that game could have been much more than what it was. And then it dawned on me that I hadn't really played it at all since the last, I guess you could say, wipe, where it was like, I think season 4 or something like that of Modern Warfare 2. So I said, screw it, jumped in, I got some time to play. We've been doing multi-game stuff the last couple of months. Why not? So I set out to do some cool stuff, expand my wallet, get another insured slot, all in all, experience some of the upgrades and quest lines along the way. Because honestly, towards the end of its support, we actually did get a decent bit of updates and actual like gameplay upgrades for DMZ as a whole. But doing things like missions, getting rewards done, that's what I ended up setting out for. It produced a lot of, well, interesting results. First and foremost, I kind of set myself up for failure though in a lot of these situations because I was playing solo. I did that a lot, but I didn't want to like just turtle into playing passively. But if you get into DMZ today, you're probably going to see a ton of 3-man squads straight up hunting players, like straight up beelining from infill points to where other players could be. No real interest in missions or quests, nothing like that. That, you'd also encounter a few squadrons from time to time where people would assimilate and make solo play sometimes 1v4 to 6 players. So not always a great time, more often than not, mostly a bad time. Anyways, solo DMZ is an entirely different animal in my opinion than with a squad. You don't have those extra eyes, that extra firepower, nothing to really help you out. Solely you and yourself, which when you're starting from the very beginning and just doing missions and such like I was, it was kind of a ruthless cycle to get sucked into. You have gear but nothing fancy, find gear, extract, start a new game, get hunted by a team of 3 or more, die, start over, loot for gear, find gear, extract, start a new game, maybe have a good game or 2 before, but then get hunted again and die, and so on, where you're just in this cycle of like finding stuff, losing stuff, finding stuff, losing stuff. But how was the playing experience overall? Connection wise, it seemed fine. Previously, whenever we talked about other like older Call of Duty games, it was something that sometimes you'd find not so stable connections, laggy lobbies, and all that kind of stuff. When I was playing, it wasn't all that bad, but again, that's still part of the Warzone experience, so it's still technically upkept in that regard. The player population seemed healthy enough. I mean, I think that's probably what happens when you have a free-to-play element. Even though the game has not been supported for an entire year almost at this point, it is something that still plenty of people are jumping in and playing. As for your types of players, well, you probably could guess there's 2 sides of the coin here. You have those very aggressive players, and you have those super chill players. I think that honestly I found through all my games though like one chill player out of the playtime that I had, which if by some miracle this video makes it to that dude, thank you for the pickup. I appreciate it on Ashika after I got hunted by a team of 3, but I swear I didn't intentionally run off right after you picked me up. I had to heal up and get ammo because they took all my loot right before you picked me up. It wasn't my intention to let you die, but I did come back in the end, so I guess that counts for something, right? I'd say maybe like every 3 matches or so I'd encounter a team hunting me, so it was definitely something that when you try to progress, you couldn't get too far solo, but that would definitely be a different story if you had 1 or 2 other players to fill out your trio. What I did find personally weird though is that it does continue Modern Warfare 2's ranking system, upwards of 1250, despite still being in this weird limbo of it's in Warzone, but it's still in Modern Warfare 2. I kind of figured you'd see that update with a new ranking system because you can still play DMZ even though it's not on the new maps and supported further, but it's also still part of Warzone, so like it's still available and should be a part of that integration, I would think, but doesn't seem like that's the case. But overall, I said it from the beginning, man, I've enjoyed DMZ. It's probably the only part about Modern Warfare 2 I actually did enjoy fully, where yeah, I had some complaints here and there, but like I didn't ever actually hate DMZ at any point. I didn't ever jump in and I'm like, this is, why am I playing this? I'm still bitter about how much fundamental focus it seemingly took away from the other core gameplay mechanics. Like Warzone at launch was absolutely just DMZ, but BR, which didn't make sense, and it felt like the game launched around DMZ instead of just being a subsidiary mode, a part of the overall experience, but it just wasn't supported enough, which is so strange that, again, the development seemingly revolved around it. But honestly, the biggest thing that I can say is that it's a shame that DMZ isn't supported further. I genuinely think that Call of Duty's feel for an extraction shooter could have been a great addition for the genre. Like, I genuinely believe that there would be a place for that if they continued supporting it. I think that it's such a good introduction to the hardcore games that you can get your feet wet in that gameplay loop, and if you decide to, you love it, you can make the jump to other games that were a bit more heavily focused on that kind of stuff. To me, it's the whole Warzone and Battle Royale thing all over again, but instead this one was given up on before it really had a chance to flourish. Blackout and Warzone, people were like, Call of Duty has no business in these Battle Royale modes. And sure, while from a fan's perspective and someone who may see what they're into affected the focus of the multiplayer experience and stuff like that, it's objective fact that Warzone and COD's investment into Battle Royale made a wildly successful and industry genre leading game. I truly think that DMZ could have done that again with the extraction genre. I fully do. I 100% believe that the mechanics and the fluidity of Call of Duty would fit an extraction mode pretty perfectly. Again, being that middle ground between something hardcore and being something that's just like a very basic introduction to the genre and gameplay loop. You play any other hardcore extraction game out there in the mode and the mechanics just feel kind of clunky, I guess is a way to put it. Like, frankly, this is one time you'll ever really hear me compliment Modern Warfare 2. With the slow pacing of Modern Warfare 2 and the mechanic limitations for Modern Warfare 2 mixed with the Call of Duty feel and the fluidity of that kind of stuff, it goes really well for an extraction game. Literally nothing else I'll give compliment to it, just the extraction mode of DMZ. Warzone and MP, again, I'll still stick by that it was probably one of my least favorite experiences in the last decade or so in the COD franchise, but DMZ, I mean, it was okay. And with all that in mind, again, it seemed like such a great middle ground for the genre as a whole. An approachable avenue, something that's just like your surface level exploration of a game genre. And being that it was free to play, again, you didn't have to buy anything to try and get good at the basic fundamentals of it. You could just play the game. And frankly, one of the things that I really loved about it was the inclusion of all the console play. Of course, because it's Call of Duty, it's on PC, it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, and cross-generation too. So it was on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, as well as all the new hardware out there. I enjoy covering extraction shooters and such, but the one thing that is a common thread is that a lot of them are on PC. So even if a game is played perfectly, it still could limit player bases because it might not be on Xbox or PlayStation. And I do feel bad when I see comments, it's like, hey, is this coming to console? And I have to be like, no, unfortunately not. But I mean, DMZ was one of those things. Again, give it praise or criticism you want, but it was certainly accessible. And to me, that was a huge thing with it. Now, it seems like perhaps the only reason why it wasn't supported, because again, you'll still find success in players in the mode even now, is it just didn't seem like there was any real way to monetize it, which is what sucks that it comes down to that. But that's kind of what it seems like. It's why we ended up seeing bundles eventually introduced with some sort of bonuses, whether it be a backpack, a UAV, a self-revive. It was small, but it was certainly enough to make that argument for players that, okay, now they're trying to push a little bit of pay to win. And whenever that's not generating a ton of revenue by comparison to just Warzone cosmetics, bundles, blueprints, and that kind of stuff, I imagine that was the catalyst for, okay, this isn't getting our return on investment, let's shut it down. And honestly, that sucks that we won't see a revival of any kind in the future with continued support. I mean, number one, it was Infinity Ward's baby. There wasn't a studio to pick it up after Infinity Ward dropped off. They're likely full steam ahead on COD 2026, whatever that may be. But with all that is reported to come up, wouldn't it have been cool to see DMZ on like Verdansk in the future year of Warzone? Like, I think that would have been just such a cool and missed opportunity to not bring that back in some capacity. I just feel like for once, COD kind of peaked too early, if that makes sense. Like, with how many things in the past decade they've waited for industry trends on and then jumped on the bandwagon of it, it seems like they were too early to the party for this one. I thought they might have been a little too late with the Battle Royale space after the craze had been going on for years and years, but I mean, it worked out for them with Warzone. But dropping support and then seeing a ton of games upcoming in the future with tons of prospect like Gray Zone Warfare, Arena Breakout Infinite, PUBG's Project Black Budget, the Delta Force Hawk Ops Hazard Zone mode, Incursion Red River, and of course all still while having that base catalyst of the genre like Tarkov, all available. The genre's booming. There's going to be a lot more projects upcoming here that really do expand that out further, and honestly, we might be entering that age of extraction shooters, but COD's not going to be a part of it, or at least not for a little while, it seems like. So it seems like they may have tried to capitalize on it too early, which is a bummer, because I do think that it could have been something that going into the future, if it wasn't all about corporate profits, I feel like it could have been something that was an awesome experience for players as a whole and a growing pillar of the game itself. But that is where we're at and what DMZ is like a little bit here as of 2024, and unfortunately how it was just never upkept and given to be a little bit more. But anyways, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about DMZ as an experience and something I've been thinking about recently here out of the extraction boom in recent weeks to months, and where we could have had something I think of a hidden gem within Call of Duty and DMZ. But that said, that's going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. What did you guys think of DMZ during its year of support? Have you gone back and continued to play it? Have you played it recently? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Call of Duty, especially with COD 2024's reveal upcoming. I'd love to have in the community, but for now, thanks so much for watching. Honest Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.